Nahki, anytime late winners are probably the best feeling in football. When you concede late to drop points, that's it must be doubly frustrating.
Yeah, like you said, scoring late goals and winning points late always feels like a double bonus, and then conceding late almost feels like a sucker punch. You almost feel like you lose the game of football because of that. In the grand scheme of things, we know that it's a point gained, but it feels like 2 points dropped, of course, and it just depends on how you look at it, and we have to try and take the positive. But yeah, it's a gut-wrenching one, and it's just one we have to move on quickly from.
Yeah. And Liam Manning's just been in sort of chatting about there's been a few too many games, particularly away from home, where late goals have gone in, and it's probably costing you. It'd be the difference between where you are now and being comfortably in that top six.
Yeah, we would say that would be the defining factor, wouldn't it? It would be away from home, late in games, not having seen out the game and drop points. Yeah, that's the truth of the matter, and it's a case of how can we manage those moments better as a team, and how we can make sure we leave the away ground with more points, and yeah, we'd be much better off.
Yeah, is that? I guess it's different things in different games, but just a little element of composure about the collective, making sure that you don't get sucked into the game the opposition wants you to play effectively.
Yeah, away from home is always difficult because you have the elements of the game. I think we know ourselves that it's a few things. If you get a second goal, it always makes it easier, or if we could have been a bit more brave at times and just managed it, and a bit more nous and experience and how we managed it. Obviously, having been out there for the last 15, 20 minutes of the game, it didn't feel like we was going to concede, but obviously it has been a reoccurring fact. And when you are 1-0 ahead, a team's always a half a chance or a deflection or a little bit of fortune away from grabbing something from the game, opposed to it being 2 and maybe feeling a bit more defeated or deflated. And yeah, that's there's no beating around the bush or something. We have to do better, because that's probably one of the downsides to somewhat of what's been a really good season for us. It's just managing those last few minutes away from home.
And when you look at how ridiculously tight it is for a whole group of teams around you in the table, it's just tiny little things, and whichever team can sort those out and get on a little run probably will end up getting where they want to do in those last 2 playoff places.
Yeah, you're right. It is fine margins. It is a small gap for, like you said, more than likely 2 places that a big number of teams are trying to fight for, and it's really whoever really wants it and goes and grabs it by the scruff of the horn will get themselves in there. And we want to be one of those teams at the end of the season that that are in the top 6, without being too looking too far ahead. We want to try and stay as present as possible, but we'd be lying if we said that wasn't our goal, and that's what we're not trying to achieve with trying to stay focused game by game. And if we can do, and it goes to show, if we would have picked up more points against Swansea, considering the way the game was, we felt like we would have better side, and if we would have been able to see it out, you'd be thinking, yeah, we'll be a few points in the playoff places now, or we'll be in there. But that's not here, not there. We can't cry over spilled milk. It's happened, and it's about how we manage the next 13 games in a better fashion and try and be a bit more decisive in games and not allow teams back in.
Next opportunity to try and get yourself back in there is on Friday night against a team that's around you in the table in Middlesbrough. Recently, you've had a pretty good record against them. Is that something that's ever in the back of your mind when you're coming up against a particular team?
I mean, somewhat, because you always look to your previous experience with that team, and yeah, I do recall us having some really good results against them in recent times, especially since I've been at the club as well. I can recall many times of having won home and away, and yeah, maybe we're just that team. Obviously, history doesn't really impact the game on Friday in reality, but it can give us some kind of confidence knowing that it's pretty much the same set of players, bar one or two in both sides, and that if we turn up on the day, that we're more than capable of beating them.
Yeah. And Middlesbrough got a lot of good players. Obviously, one of them very familiar to us here. He's been injured recently, but have you kept in touch with Tommy? Is a relationship that sort of lasted beyond the transfer?
Yeah, we still speak, and it's not just myself. There'll be a few lads in the changing room. I know he'll be chomping at the bit naturally, and the same for us, wanting to stop, one of their talisman and Tommy, and yeah, so it's a good friendship there. We still speak, unfortunately, but I guess for our fortune, he has been out, which has probably coincided with a bit of their form, because he's one of the danger man and one of their talisman this season. But yeah, he's back fit, so he's one we're gonna have to keep an eye out on and be wary of his threat, and hopefully, yeah, at the end of the day on Friday, it's a game, and we're playing against them, and all the friendship goes out the window into the final Bristol Bliss.
And you always had good battles in terms of trying to finish top scorer and all the like of it. So I guess just a slightly different version of something like that from if he does get involved on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. Then, like you said, how can you find a competition within it? And can we come out on top? Can I come out on top? And can we stop him? And can I get the better of them? It's small ways to look at it, but the bigger picture is it's us v Middlesbrough on Friday night. It's somewhat of a 6-pointer. Trying to push a team away from the spots that we'd like to get. Playing on Friday as well before the majority of the teams. Can we pile some pressure? But equally, can we just focus on what's ahead? That's 3 points on Friday night at the gate, and yeah, our home form's been good too.
Super, thank you.
Nahki, we spoke to Sinclair Armstrong after the Stoke game, and he really sung your praises and the coaching staff's praises for the work you've done with him on the training ground. I just wonder how you feel he's developed in the time, particularly since he's come back from injury.
Yeah, no, Sinks has been really good of late since coming back from injury. I think what he's doing is, I think he's trying to improve every day. So I think he's asking a lot of questions. I see him doing work with the coaching staff, and those are all the things that you need to do to progress as a player. Someone with some of the capabilities that he has, if he's able to improve in some other areas, is only going to take him to the next level. And yeah, since he's been back, he looks a bit hungrier, a bit more driven. Been performing really well. When he started, he's done very well. When he's come on, he's made an impact, and he has those attributes that can always have an impact on the game. And the more that we can see that from him, the better that we'll benefit from going forward.
I'm sure you want to play every game, but especially with Fally leaving in January, having two strikers both really competing for each other, it must spur you both on as well.
Yeah, it does. It does. Like you said, we've obviously lost Fally in that competitive element, but with our shape and with our structure and how the gaffer sets up, there's always one striker on the field at one time. So we, more than likely we're not going to be on the field at the same time. So it's competing for that number one shirt. I know I can't play every minute. I know he can't play every minute, and it's about how can we competitively push each other whilst helping the team benefit at the end. And whoever's getting the nod at the minute, the other one's got to support him, and hopefully he can do the business for when myself or he comes on, and to help see out the game in a tremendous fashion. But no, Sinks has been, since he's come back from injury, it seems like he's quite hungry to get that success, and hopefully the goals and the assists and stuff can come from soon, and we can all reap the rewards of that.
On a similar note, you hear Kyle made a real impact off the bench at the weekend, slipped you through quite late on as well. How do you see his games improving? Because it does seem, especially when he's playing in that bit further forward role, he's having a real impact and creating a lot for the strikers in particular.
Yeah, no, you use a special talent, and a lot's gone on to why we as a team and him as an individual probably hasn't been able to show that consistent basis of performance levels that we believe is in him as a player. It's a long season. We know what he had done in the past with his injury, kind of the structural change in our team, and not being able to necessarily fit him in at times, and adapting to a new country, a new team, so many different factors. And we see it on a day-to-day basis. We know how talented he is. He's a very talented kid who works hard and is driven to do well. at the end of the day, it's 11 players going to start and play at the same time, and at times he has missed out. But what he's shown in recent weeks is he's been able to come on at times, not necessarily in his strongest position, but he's been able to make a real big impact. In the last few games, we've seen that, and that's what we want from you. That's what we think and know he's capable of doing. We see it on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully, for a bit of fortune, maybe a goal or another assist, like a great assist the other day, and maybe we could just see that player flourish from now to the end of the season. But he's a big one for us, and we know we can play a numerous amount of positions that will be beneficial to us.
You mentioned those late goals, particularly away from home. Liam's just mentioned it seems to happen a bit more regularly at home. From a player's perspective out there on the pitch, is there any difference? Can you feel a difference in that sort of atmosphere?
You can feel a difference because of how the game is going. Like, we have our leadership group and meetings and conversations and stuff like that. But me, I was a player who came onto the field, and I obviously didn't believe we managed the game well enough for that last 15 to 20 minutes, and we could have. We did feel quite comfortable. I didn't have any lack of trust in my teammates that we're going to be able to keep a clean sheet, but obviously we weren't able to, and that has been a recurring theme. At times you come to the field, you think, we're not going to be able to hold this out. Like, do I trust we're able to defend? And we do have that belief in each other. We just have to manage it in another way, whether that is try to control the game a bit better, or be brave enough to try and do positive actions, which may get you a second goal, or get you more comfort in the game, and managing it, opposed to kind of sitting back. Because when you do, at times you just, one person was in the right place, and it becomes a tumbling effect, and the next thing you know, they score. And we have to give them credit because they improved in that bit, but we also could have been a bit braver in how we managed that part of the game. And had we not scored, we might not have seen the flip side of it. But it gives us a chance to look back at it, converse, speak, and try and improve from the things that has been somewhat of a reoccurring theme, and just try and put it right.
I'm sure you remember there was a similar spell at home under Nigel Pearson, probably in his first season, where the fans were back. Has it got a different feel to that? Because it was a similar sort of occurrence, wasn't it, where there were late goals quite often?
Yeah, it's hard to remember because we play so much football. Yeah. It's hard to remember periods and spells. I mean, there is a difference playing away from home than playing at home. You don't have that entire support factor from the stadium, the crowd, there's always a little bit added pressure when you're away from home. It's just how the psychology of how we can manage that better as individuals and as a group. Knowing we are quite a young squad and a bit naive at times, and I guess that comes with having such a young squad. And the only thing that we can see is it should and hopefully will only improve going forward.
I guess that's where you play an important role as well with the experience you've got compared to a lot of members of the squad. Is that something you do a lot to call upon, past experiences?
Yeah, I mean, it's only so much an individual can do, but the manager does, he does give the senior players a chance to express their feelings, their words. Obviously, we're out there in the field at times, and the reliance is on us experienced players to help try and guide and lead us along with the tactics and all the information that we can get from the sidelines. But yeah, there's no being around the bush. There's onus on myself, on Rob Dickey, on the core of the team, and the experience that's in the team to help try to stay composed and stay calm in those moments, along with the lads showing their quality and being brave to try and still put teams to bed.
You've had success in the playoffs. You're still in and around the race this season. How does it compare the feel here to what you've experienced in those sort of campaigns previously in your career?
Yeah, when I was promoted, we were almost I'd probably say more like a Sunderland side, and we were pretty much in the playoffs. We were fighting to get in the top two. We couldn't get in. We kind of fell out. Where this is slightly different feel. We feel like we're playing a bit of catch up. But looking around the dressing room, looking around the team, knowing what quality we got, I don't see a real difference in what we had in that Huddersfield dressing room than what we have now. It's just about, it's just about doing it. It's just about doing it. And it's not easy because there's some other very good teams that's trying to do it. Winning the Championship football game is never easy. But if we could, like I said, if we can just be decisive in both boxes a bit more, I think we'll get the rewards and the benefit of that.